In a faraway land known as the Abyss lies a nation called Dogmatica. The Dogmatica nation is a religious nation led by the Dogmatica Church and the High Priest Maximus. It is home to warriors and saints alike who protect their religion and their icon, the Nexus. Ecclesia and Fleur-de-Lis, two of Dogmatica's saints, hear a loud noise and commotion coming from outside the church while preparing for a religious ceremony. A blazing red fireball descends from a hole in the sky, crashing into the land below. When the dust settles, an ashen silver dragon appears. Saint Fleur-de-Lis arms herself and strikes a yellow lightning from her sword upon the dragon, swiftly disabling it. The dragon is defeated. In its place appears a boy, the Fallen of Albaz. Fleur-de-Lis aims to finish the job, but Ecclesia shows the boy compassion. The church, on the other hand, does not. From afar, a loud gunshot is heard. Jades of the Tri-Brigade fires the opening shot, while the rest of her rebel warrior beasts fly in to claim Albaz for themselves and help him and Ecclesia escape the capital. The Ashians, in an act of desperation, cast a spell that pains and burns the mark on Ecclesia's forehead, a mark that is common among all Dogmatica saints, known as the Stigmata. Feeling Ecclesia's pain, Albaz transforms into Brigand, the Glory Dragon, taking on the Stigmata on himself and allowing the Tri-Brigade to fight their way out of the nation safely. It's a full-on brawl as the two leaders of the opposing nations fight brutally in the sky. The Tri-Brigade manage to escape and make their way back to their home, the Desert of Golganda. In the great sand sea known as Golganda, the Tri-Brigade regroup and can now relax after helping the now exiled Ecclesia and Albaz escape the wrath of the church. Shereg, leader of the Tri-Brigade, supplies the couple with a little mechanical bird and sends them off on a journey to find an engineer from the Tri-Brigade crew who dwells deep in the Golganda desert. While on the search, after days of traveling, the duo is suddenly bombarded by missiles and rockets from every direction. As the fire rains upon the two, Albaz transforms into Sprind, the Iron Dash Dragon, and a chase is underway. The Springans, who are the inhabitants of this part of the desert, manage to catch up and take down Sprind, capturing Albaz and Ecclesia. While in captivity, a young girl walks in and identifies the little mechanical bird that is accompanying the duo. Her name is Kit, of the Tri-Brigade Warriors. She has been working with the Springans for a while on developing a new revolutionary armament for the Tri-Brigade, and thankfully, she tells the Springans that the two came for her. The Springans listen and release them. Back in Dogmatica, Maximus reveals his true self. The Stigmata, the mark on the Dogmatica people's foreheads, was not a religious marking, but actually a trigger, a switch. With the cast of a spell, the Dogmatica become evil, creating the Despia. The hole above the nation opens wider as the land below cracks and tears apart. Rises the theater of the branded. The corrupted Despia begin their assault on the people of Dogmatica, and as a last resort, the Tri-Brigade return to the capital to try to hold off the newly revealed evil forces. From the hole in the sky descends another figure. Aluber, the Jester of Despia, joins the battle. With some striking similarities to the Fallen of Albaz, this Jester is marked in red and not in white. With his wings open, he transforms into the blazing dragon Masquerade to help continue the conquering of the Dogmatica nation by the evil Despia. In the desert, a hole in the sand begins to open. A hole similar to the ones in the skies above Dogmatica. The ground shakes as a great serpent rises up to attack the Springans. Albaz senses the impending danger and transforms himself into Albion, the branded dragon. The dragon roars and flies to protect Ecclesia and the Springans, while above, a trio of mysterious warriors suddenly appears. The great serpent is struck down by yellow lightning, with Albion the dragon getting in the way and suffering from the ricochets himself. While the lightning was enough to defeat the great serpent, it did not defeat Albion. Instead, it causes Albion to shed his bright, blazing orange skin, and as Ecclesia comforts it, the dragon reveals his black scaled coat underneath. The three warriors are identified by the group. It's Fleur-de-Lis, Theo, and Aiden from back home in Dogmatica, but they seem different. They have been on a journey and are wearing different clothing from a different unknown culture, a land far away. The trio tells the boy and the girl about their journey, how Fleur-de-Lis was almost turned into an evil Despia by the powers of Maximus, how they escaped to the sacred summit of the Sword Soul to relieve the curse inflicted upon Fleur-de-Lis with the help of the Ice Jades and help seal their stigmatas, preventing them from turning into evil Despia. They will now make their way back to Dogmatica to continue their fight against the Despia forces. In order to recruit the Sword Soul to fight against the Despia, Ecclesia and Albaz head to the summit as well. In the Sword Soul Temple, Ecclesia and Albion explain the situation to the Sword Soul leader and are accepted into the tribe. They join the warriors of the Sword Soul, and Ecclesia is accepted as one of their own. However, not all Sword Soul have good intentions. The tribe's strategist, Longyuan, has plotted to combine forces with the Despia and help them defeat the Dogmatica nation. Late at night, the portal opens at the summit, and under the cover of darkness, the Despia invasion on the Sword Soul sacred land begins. Kit, the honorary Springans warrior, accompanied by the captain of the Springans, Sargas, make their way to the land of Iron. The land of the Dyscolosseum contains the power that fuels the Tri-Brigade weaponry, and in order to gain access to it, the duo must now defeat a series of fighters that protect the Argyro system, known as the Therions. Sargas defeats rival after rival, eventually gaining enough power to defeat the king of the Therions himself, Regulus, and gains him and Kit access to the might and bounty of the Dyscolosseum land. The Argyro system, witnessing this shameful defeat of its protectors, launches a group of celestial electric beings upon the two, known as the Sprites, and even charges Regulus's defeated body with Sprite energy to fight back Kit and Sargas. The Argyros forces attack, and the rest of the Therions end up taking Kit's side to fight off the Sprites and Regulus's haunted body, led by a gigantic Sprite entity. Thankfully, Kit has already worked on a device that can capture Sprite energy, releasing the thunder-charged madness from Regulus's body and allowing both him and Sargas to defeat the gigantic leader of the Sprite forces, bringing peace back to the Dyscolosseum and securing enough power to make an attempt to fight the Despia back home. Back on the Sword Soul Summit, as a Despia invasion begins, a grueling battle ensues. And while the forces of Sword Soul and Despia fight to the death, a different battle takes place deep within the summit's peak. In there lies the power of the Ice Jades, special beings that grant their unique powers to the Sword Soul tribe and help create their weapons. Longyuan betrays his prodigy Moye and claims her powerful sword. Combining the two swords, Longyuan becomes sinister, striking a fatal blow at the Sword Soul sovereign, Chengying. Meanwhile, inside the summit, a hole opens, revealing Aluber, who has made his way into the Sword Soul land. Aluber strikes down Albaz with a chain of corrupted holes, but eventually is fought off by Ecclesia. The Empress of the Ice Jade, Cosmochlor, grants the power of the Ice Jade upon Albaz, turning him into Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon. The dragon strikes down at Longyuan's empowered sinister form, while Aluber himself turns into a new searing dragon called Lubellion. As the forces collide, the power of the two is too strong to not be contained. The two dragons clash and struggle, but eventually are fused into a single being. The Abyss Dragon, Albalenidus, is born. Back at the capital of Dogmatica, the battle continues. The trio of now Sword Soul warriors is ambushed as they arrive at the church. Fleur-de-Lis, now known as Iris of the Sword Soul tribe, fights the Despia forces and strikes down their leader, Dramaturge. But it was all a mirage, a spectacle. The vision of Dramaturge disappears into a mist, as Quiritus, in his draconic form, ridden by the youngest of the Dogmatica saints, the newly anointed Quem, strikes down at Fleur-de-Lis and traps her. Quem and Quiritus strike down the saint with all their power, fatally wounding her. Aluber and Albaz's combined form begins its path of destruction on what remains of the Sword Soul Summit, destroying everything in its path. And when Aluber feels as though he drew enough of Albaz's powers, he ejects him from the body, causing a huge ball of fire to incinerate what is left of the Ice Jade Kingdom, leaving ruin and agony behind them. Disguised by the mess and the cacophony of the battle, Dramaturge kidnaps Ecclesia and brings her back to Dogmatica to prepare for their last stand against Albaz and his allies. As Albaz's allies gather outside the capital, preparing for the decisive battle, inside, Ecclesia discovers her spiritual sister's fallen body. Saint Fleur-de-Lis is dead. As Ecclesia mourns, Saint Quem watches from close by. Aluber uses Ecclesia's grief to transform her into a dark, tormented being known as Cartesia, the Virtuous. But the Despia do not stop there. Countless holes open in the sky. The draconic abominations known as the Bestials, rulers from another world, join the fight. Cartesia's power channels through Aluber himself, transforming him into a Bestial, the Bestial Lubellion. Lubellion transforms the power of Dogmatica Nexus at the center of the church into a bestial superweapon known as Albaz. The weapon rises above the theater, ready to defend the capital. Outside, Sargas's championship that was won at the Coliseum allowed Kit to create the ultimate Tri-Brigade weapon and bestow Shireg with Bucephalus II, a weapon crafted to deal with the most ferocious enemies imaginable. Sargas launches his new powers upon the bestial superweapon, while Shireg fires a series of red and blue lightnings at Albaz. The combination of the two powers destroys the Albaz, but Aluber, in his bestial form, still stands. A new dragon rises by the powers of Cartesia, who creates the Dusk Dragon out of fallen corpses of the ones who dared defy the Dogmatica. Using parts collected from the land of Iron at the Coliseum, Kit has created a new machine to help the allies, Rinbrum, the Striking Dragon, who flies up to charge at the Bestial Lubellion and in turn at Cartesia as well. Rinbrum aims and fires a lightning strike at Lubellion, but Cartesia, brainwashed and corrupted, uses the wings of Granguignol, the Dusk Dragon, to protect Lubellion from Rinbrum's lightning strike, perishing, and begins falling out of the sky. Albaz jumps down, chasing Cartesia's fallen, lifeless body, and uses his only power left, the blade of the Ice Jades, to try to bring Cartesia back to life, back to being Ecclesia. In the theater, far, far below, a great power has been in production ever since the battle at the Sword Soul Summit. Maximus, now Dramaturge of Despia, has deformed and mutated his body in order to put an end to Ecclesia and her allies. The ground shakes as the theater ceiling opens, revealing a gigantic, grotesque being known as the Dogmatica Albazoa. As he sees the powers of the Bestials led by the Bestial Aluber, Albazoa consumes their power in order to become the one true, powerful god, Dispater. On the ground below, Quem, seeing the abomination created by Dramaturge and Aluber, uses her powers to revive the body of the fallen Fleur-de-Lis, corrupting her with a life force, turning her into the Despian Luluwalith. Albaz catches up with Cartesia, and using the light of the Ice Blade, transforms himself and Cartesia into his final form, Albion, the Sanctifier Dragon. As Cartesia's blade hits the ground, the Sanctifier unleashes his brightest, blazing force as Fleur-de-Lis raises her powerful sword and deals a final, fatal blow, killing the bestial Dispater. The battle is over. The Despia have been defeated. Aluber, now left with only a few allies who follow him, including his faithful servant Ad Libitum, picks up Cartesia's fallen blade. Using the gem from Cartesia's discarded holy blade, he transforms himself into his true, final form, becoming a Dragon King, known as the Bestial Aluber. By fusing the power of the Ice Blade with Ecclesia, Albaz saves her life. She is now able to return to her original self. The dust settles on Golganda, Dogmatica, and the entire land of the Abyss. As the Allies celebrate the defeat of the Dogmatica and Despia forces, Ecclesia and Albaz bid farewell to the land they once knew, continuing their adventure in search of a new frontier.